Hey everybody, thanks for clicking on Storm Talk. This is Way 3 News meteorologist Brian Good. Back from vacation, I got a chance to go down to Charleston, South Carolina and see some former co-workers, friends, and of course some family who was with me as well. So it was a nice trip and very surreal moment to be there. This was planned for a while, so it was all about timing, but what a resilient city, and I hope things continue to work out for those guys in the midst of everything that's been going on. And they're good people, and what a great town it was to visit and get away, get to the beach and everything. And of course, I kept looking at the radar. I did my best not to post about anything here weather related. I wanted to avoid all that and take a break the best that I could. And that was a tough one. That's why I don't take vacations in the wintertime. You know me, I wouldn't survive if there was a snowstorm on the way. I couldn't stay quiet. Anyway, I don't know why. There's a little bit of confusion, by the way, on my page. Everybody thought I was leaving. I'm not leaving. I was on vacation. I am here. I'm not going anywhere. Don Jim won't let me go anywhere. But anyway, all right, so here's the latest. I'm filling in for Christy, by the way, who is filling in for Kevin, who is on vacation this week. Hope that all makes sense. We're kind of shaking things up a little bit this week and working some different shifts here, so you'll see some different faces, different times. But hopefully you'll enjoy all of our forecasts, all right? So let's get right into the details here. It seems like I left you guys on a stormy note with the tropical system Bill was coming through. Now, we had some nice weather yesterday, but now we've had some thunderstorm action come back into play here for the forecast. And we have a slight risk of severe weather, mainly east and southeast of Louisville for this afternoon. We'll examine that a little more here in just a second. Tomorrow, it's a marginal risk. I could see some argument here that may change to a slight. I have a better feeling, though, for a slight risk for Wednesday that could develop based on some of the latest data, which we'll cover as well. First off, though, let's cover what's happening now. 76 outside of Louisville, 73 into Fort Knox, and 72 into E-Town. When you look at the visible satellite, you see why it's a little cooler to the north. There's an area of low pressure. If you look carefully, you can actually see the spin right over the Wabash. And this is the inflow into the system here. That's why these showers kind of turn more to the north and northeast ahead of the low itself. But it's always the case. We've got to watch how much heating takes place here along these little bands, if you will, or spiral bands from the low pressure that move through. That is where these thunderstorms are going to initiate, and they will begin to do so very soon. The next few hours, it looks like, and then these bands will continue to rotate ahead of the low into Ohio. And it's going to be that southeast section here. We got to watch that low pressure for anything that could possibly turn to severe potential. For those of you in Indiana, lesser chance for anything when it comes to thunderstorms. You'll be underneath that cloud canopy most of the day. If you get any sun at all, it'll be very speckled. A little downpours may develop on the radar, maybe some pea-sized hail with some of those, but very speckled look to the radar. Nothing severe really expected for you guys there. It's going to be where that max heating is going to take place, and that again is going to be across Kentucky versus Indiana. So let's look at some of the short-range monitors. There's one of them that develops. Again, here's the center of the low. There's that speckled look to some of the radar. Now, it is showing that maybe one of these bands may get close enough to the heating area to create some thunderstorms along the Ohio River. We'll wait and see if that happens. Better chance, though, for some heating to develop here in southern Kentucky and thunderstorms to develop rapidly, again, in the next few hours. That trend will continue all the way ahead of the low pressure itself through 3 or 4 o'clock this afternoon. Got to watch the severe potential. Louisville officially is not in that potential risk, but I would argue that anybody that is along this area has a chance to receive maybe a brief warning of some type later today. If you're north and west of that, which is most of our Indiana counties, I think you'd be okay. But right along the river here in south and east, that is the zone ahead of that low pressure. We've got to watch because you have the perfect combination of the heat and you have the combination of the wind energy to produce perhaps some strong damaging wind gusts. Most activity, though, will fade away, by the way, once the sun goes down this evening. There's another short-range model. Shows a similar setup, although it's betting on a little more heating taking place. It's going mid to upper 80s in some cases later this afternoon with most of the storms across southern Kentucky. In fact, it tries to aim more toward south of the parkways, in fact. And then they'll fade away later tonight. And then tomorrow, another wave moves in, and we will likely see more development. But notice the clock, 12 noon. This second batch tomorrow seems to be a few hours ahead of schedule from the one today. And that means better chance to get storms to pop earlier in the day, and that will continue into the afternoon evening. So we'll play with around the rain chances with the new data coming in. We may have to raise them for tomorrow compared to what we'll see for this afternoon. And then those two will begin to fade away as we head into the evening time frame. Now, as far as severe potential just for today, here's your wind shear energy. And again, some of this is the current low pressure that is moving through the area, and some of it is the next low pressure that moves in here for tomorrow. So here's the first piece moving through. It's hard to see. There's a couple of pockets here of 30 to 35. They can produce some severe weather, and that's why the slight risk is mainly found there across the bluegrass area of Kentucky and East Kentucky. And then the next wind energy is already moving down the pipe here. That'll be here for tomorrow, and not much for the overnight period. Enough to maybe keep a chance for a thunderstorm in the forecast, but again, the shares is not off the charts at all. The heating is allowing for instability. This too is not off the charts. I mean, instability is there. I mean, CAPES is how we measure that, 1,000 to 1,500. That's, enough to get some cumulus clouds to bubble up into thunderstorms, even into areas of Ohio. So I wouldn't rule it out. But again, it's not, crazy wild. So that's why I think a threat of marginal to low and severe is very much justified there. And because we are talking about our area of low pressure moving in through the Ohio Valley, it's again that southeast section of that low is where we have the best chance for the wind to change direction from the ground level through the atmosphere on up. And it's not high. I mean, to me, I think, 2 to 300s when you start worrying about potential for tornadoes to become more of a threat. Right now, it's projected to be about 100. Now, the Storm Prediction Center does have like a 5% tornado risk, which is pretty high, relatively speaking, compared to normal for that area of Ohio, northern Kentucky. But I don't see anything really to match that so far in the data. I think 2% that they have is justified the way it is. The reason why, though, again, is that veering of the wind speeds. Now, what can enhance this, even though you got weak elicities, what you're looking at here, even though you have those weak values, you can get a situation where you have storms that bump into each other. They can create that spin a little more dramatic in fashion to the point where it sounds the alarms, the National Weather Service, that there's rotation, that it's tightening in the storm, and then a tornado warning may get issued. That is possible. And I wouldn't rule that out this afternoon, but it's going to be very localized, and it's going to be very difficult to predict that right now. It's going to be a situation that's going to happen literally within the hour of it happening, and we're not going to know that in advance. So I can't answer your questions if you're going to ask that on Facebook, just FYI. Just know that overall, this is not a major event, and I want to make sure we stress that. I'm showing you the data that we're looking at to confirm it's not going to be a major event. But could there be a few severe thunderstorm warnings in this area today? Yes. Could there be 1 or 2 tornado warnings? Yes. That is certainly possible, given the conditions. But it's not going to be a widespread event, and I want to make sure we are okay on that end of things. All right, so when it comes to looking at these little pieces of energy, this is just one piece coming through this afternoon and early evening. There's another piece that rolls down tomorrow. This is looking at the 500 millibar vorticity. This just tells us the pieces of energy in a better fashion in this northwest flow that we have. Another piece moves in here tomorrow, again, around midday, early afternoon. That's why I think the storm chance begins to pick up here as we head to the midday, early afternoon time frame for Tuesday. And then we have another one waiting for us, just waiting to come down the pipe. It moves in Wednesday night into Thursday. We'll watch that one. That one looks to be pretty potent here, in fact, Wednesday evening to early on Thursday. That one may be focused more for Paducah and St. Louis and Memphis. But I would argue by the looks of this energy already that, I think a slight risk is going to come out for some areas here. It may not include us. Louisville may be on the northern fringe, but this is looking to me to be a pretty potent little wave coming in Wednesday night and early Thursday. And then as we get into the weekend, 4th of July holiday weekend and beyond, the big battle here is going to be how strong will the heights get. This is a height indicator here of the core of the high pressure. It's really hot underneath that and off to the west. It's going to wobble around back and forth here this weekend and next week. But overall, the trends are there for it to center itself more over Kansas and Nebraska. And if that were to be the case, the Ring of Fire, as we call that, would send in these pieces of energy back into the area throughout the month of July for at least the first couple of weeks. And that could keep things wet and stormy and cool. Cooler than normal. In fact, it would prevent the 90s from really dominating our weather. But again, it all depends on where this bad boy decides to set up. Is it going to be Kansas? Or is it going to set up shop a little more to the east to keep us back into the heat and push the Ring of Fire more to our north? Don't know that answer just yet. Those are just some indicators we're getting for the longer term. So I hope I made sense. I'm really tired. I haven't slept yet from vacation coming back into town, so I apologize. But hopefully it made sense there that these are not major events, but it does look active. And there's a lot of moving parts really to keep an eye on as we get through the next several days this week. So busy week for us overall. All right, that's it for right now. I'll have much more on midday today, of course, at 11 a.m. And Christy Dutton will have more today beginning at 5 o'clock. We'll see you then.